there you go, folks. We're getting this down to a fine art here on Radio FM88 Australia. We're broadcasting in the Brisbane studios. My co-hosts are above me, of course, are in the Northern Hemisphere. The lady in pink, none other than my co-host, Andrena Forrest. And you can actually jump on to Andrena Forrest YouTube channel or Radio FM88 YouTube channel, or any one of the Facebook platforms, or you can be on the X-Files. And otherwise, afterwards, we're on to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, and Amazon. In fact, you can go, Alexa, play Radio FM88 Australia. Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to... been a long day here in Brisbane, already done a full day's work, but we're handing it over to our good friends who are starting the morning off on a Thursday morning. It's a good morning to you.
Morning, Jeffrey, and thank you. And welcome everybody to Dreaming the New Dream. And we have a lovely sunny day here in Dorset, and it's the 30th of January today. So we're just coming to the end of another month swiftly. Today it's my great pleasure to have Susan Laing back on the show. Now, Susan came on about a year ago now, and she's a dear friend, and she's down in Glastonbury, and she does lots of different things. And she's a detox specialist. She does wellness retreats, very into nutrition. There ain't much she doesn't know. Iridology, into Zen cleanses, which is another... anyway, she'll share all that as we talk. And I know I've seen when you do, I've forgotten what it's called, you do raw something in Glastonbury. And I see all these dishes of raw foods. And I think, wow, you know, I'm not there yet by any way, shape or form. I'm working towards getting more raw in the food sense. So without further ado, welcome, Susan, and it's lovely to see you and have you back on again.
Oh, wow. I never expected to be back so quickly, because it feels like no time's passed at all.
Well, it hadn't, has it, really?
Oh, yes, that's right. Timelessness, yeah.
Well, I just feel that with all the different things that are going on, coming from the air, in through the water, there's foods that got packaging labels, and you know, when I read some of the labels now, I haven't got a clue what some of them are, you know, and unless you've got a chart or anything with you, you know, you're looking at E21 emulsifier, gum this and all of that. And I know the more of these numbers in, the more it isn't real.
Yes, yes. Well, so, I say to people, if you're looking at anything that's packaged, if there are things on it you don't recognize it, the saying is your body ain't going to recognize it, you know. It's as simple as that, because the body, this body that we reside in, this soul, or whatever you like to say, is pure nature, and it only recognizes nature. And if you put anything in that's chemicals or man-made, the body's got to deal with that in some way, on somehow. And so we're already in a very overloaded, toxic society, you know, just like what you're talking about, you know, the things that are in packets. It's like, well, do you remember when we used to get a packet of crisps and it would just be potatoes, salt, and it'd be oil?
Yeah, that was it.
And can you find crisps now with those simple ingredients?
No.
It's a real, you know, scratch your head moment, isn't it? When you're looking at packaged stuff.
And there's all sorts of insects now, isn't there? Insects and other things, which I'm not going to mention, but, you know, people can do their own research. But it's horrific, some of the things that are being put in.
Yeah. There's been an insect, the red one, I can't remember what it's called, in our food for 20 years.
Yeah.
To actually colour the food with these insects, they use thousands to actually create. So these insects must be bred, you know, obviously at some level, astronomical level, probably be. Anyway, yeah. Let's.
Anyway, let's go back to the very beginning, because I know you've had
Yes.
you've had quite a different upbringing to most.
Yeah.
So share your story, and some of the amazing things that have brought you to where we are today, doing what you're doing. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, I was born in Nigeria, in Africa, near Calabar, near Cameroons, because my dad used to grow rubber trees, and he used to work for Dunlop. And so my two brothers and myself had the actual delight, and I'd also say gift of early years spending in the jungle, because the nearest town was like an hour and a half to 2 hours drive away. So we'd meet a lot of people that lived in communities working for Shell and so on, and they would be, obviously had a completely different lifestyle from us. And yeah, we would be swimming in, free flowing, clear, crystal clear rivers on a daily basis. And you take all these things for granted, of course. But yeah, it was an outdoor life. And we mingled with the Nigerians because there wasn't apartheid. And my mum did bring us up, to respect the Nigerians. So when I meet Nigerians now, I have a great affinity with them. They make me smile on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Go on.
So yeah, and then through my own poor health, I'm a podiatrist. Trained as a podiatrist, chiropodist podiatrist, whatever you like to call it.
I forgot to add that bit.
Yeah, and I was going to be a nurse actually, but my auntie, who was like my big sister, she said, "Oh, don't do nursing, specialize." So I listened to her at 18, and I literally fell into podiatry. However, through my own poor health, seriously ill, I was off work 4 years, and
Wow.
I lost my beautiful house, my pets, my job, my mind, my, everything. And I went from a very comfortable lifestyle to having nothing. And in those 4 years, it taught me a lot about life. And it taught me, obviously, as time went on and I started to study nutrition, iridology, naturopathy, and so on and so forth. I became a yoga teacher, Ashtanga, but I didn't teach it, and a few other things. And I slowly realized that working on yourself and health. If you don't have your health, you don't have a thing.
That's
You
right.
really don't. And I was 6.5 stone, had jaundice. I had nausea every day. All my hormones were upside down, inside out. And I had a heart murmur, and so nothing was really working in this body. And now at 62, I run 3 kilometers quite easily, probably every day or every other day. I miss it if I don't run. And I've got an unsurmountable amount of energy because I've done 30 liver cleanses with Zen Cleanse. That's what I sort of work with now, are these fermented enzymes. But I had a fatty liver, and non-alcoholic fatty liver. And so during the cleansing period, I passed, so many flukes, liver flukes,
Oh, I
and
bet. God.
waxy, yellow, waxy, rancid fat. And I mean colanders of it.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, when is this going to stop? And I thought to myself, no wonder I had all the issues that I had. And, this yellow fat disease, a guy I know called Atom Bergstrom's written 4 books on yellow fat disease. And they say that the yellow fat is a big problem in today's society, in animals, pets as well, especially cats.
Mm.
And it's obviously very much related to what we eat. So, yeah. I wasn't a boozer. Even though I had a little badge saying I drank a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster at Boozy Susie's, I wasn't a boozer.
Boozy Susies are like that.
Yeah, It was a talk show that I had at Boozy Susie's. So yes, what we eat does have a huge effect. And I had to go down the line. I went to an iridologist who I trained with, John Andrews, and he very succinctly said, you need to eat raw food and it needs to be organic. And of course, I sort of like, oh my God, I really did. I was like crying because all I could envision was having plates of salad. What I thought was, a salad, but actually it opened up many doors of Pandora's box. Because if you don't already know, there used to be a big industry, a successful industry in the raw food industry, where there was restaurants all over the world, and there was also raw food festivals. I went to my first raw food festival in Sedona and met all these, celebrities, if you like. My great teacher, Gabriel Cousins, was there. There was all these well-known people. Gabriel Cousins wrote a book, Healing Diabetes Within 30 Days. It might not be the exact words, but he was there promoting that book and video. So that was the first raw food festival abroad that I went to in Sedona in America, Arizona. Have you been to Arizona at all?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Jeff has, but I haven't. It's on my to-do list, but I got one long to-do list, I tell you.
Yeah, we all have, haven't we?
But sure, like when you're in a hotter, warmer country,
yes.
It's easier to eat raw foods and fruits and things, do you think, than being here in England with cold and damp and blah, blah, blah?
Absolutely. So one thing I teach or inspire people with is never have anything straight out of the fridge. So if I'm doing like a celery juice, I take this, the celery's left out overnight,
right,
so that it's at room temperature, and I just avoid. The only thing I take out out of the fridge is my leaves. I live on lamb's lettuce leaves, and I have a big bowl, and I make sunflower seed cheese, and I say to people, make sure everything's at room temperature. And, you can add things to the raw food that will change the energetics. So I've got a book here that I really, it's been one of my Bibles, and it's Chinese energetics of food. And you might know that food can range from being cold to hot in food energetics, or it can be moderate in the middle, or it can be just a bit cool, or it can just be warm. And depending on your body types, Arizona. So I went red rock hiking every day, and I got addicted to the red rock hiking. And I actually went to Sedona 3 times. I was going to move there. Very like Glastonbury, but without the sun.
Say no more.
Go back to this lovely book.
Right, let's have a look. Helping ourselves.
So, can you see that?
Chinese food.
It's by Daverick Leggett, and it's a really A4 size, and it's a really simple book, and it gives you what foods cause dampness, for example.
Oh gosh, it's a big thing, isn't it?
And it splits up all the vegetables and everything you eat to sort of the energetics it has. Blood deficiency it might cover.
Did you say?
Blood deficiency.
Oh, I thought you said love.
Qi deficiency, yang deficiency, and so on and so forth. And it's very simple and called qi stagnation, blood stagnation. So it's a lovely book, and it's $9.99 or something. So,
that's not bad.
No.
Yeah. So there's lots of questions, and a couple of people said, "Oh, ask this and ask that," and I should have written them down. So for people in the UK where the sun doesn't shine like it used to,
Yeah, that's going to change.
For people to start, if like, you know, like a couple of people said, well, you know, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that. And I said, well, like, you know, there's the gallbladder cleanse, liver cleanse, kidney stones, you know, watching what you eat and making sure your water's filtered or you put something in it, you know, and all of these things. Where would you start for somebody that just thinks, well, I'd like to change my diet and I don't know where to begin?
Right. So the first thing is, I'm very much into keep it so simple, KISS.
Oh, I'm me.
Yeah. And so always start with the water. So yeah, filtering the water and making sure that your water is clean is number one. So I'm lucky I get mine from a spring. In Dolting. And the TDS, that means the meter reading's actually at 26, which is absolutely brilliant. And then I put it through a filter. And then I actually distill it at the moment. So and add some crystals of some
Celtic salt I put in mine.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. So that's what I recommend is clean water, because as we all know now, tap water is just not drinkable. And yes. So then the next thing is you just don't want to have anything in your diet. Do you remember at the start of the chat we were talking about chemicals? So it's about clean food. So clean food is the second thing to be aware of. And to make sure that it doesn't have, you know, especially glyphosate spray on it. So that means your grains, your breads, and so on. And sourcing those sort of things is essential. And then you have foods that are GMO'd, like most soya is interfered with now in America. You get clean soy is quite challenging. People think that there is a lot of clean soy out there, but soy, but that's another challenge. So it's about clean, and then you gleam.
Yeah, because I know, like when I see you, you've got a lovely rosy glow. You always look a picture of health. And, you know, and I know you do your running and doing all the raw and all that. So so you're an inspiration, and this is what we want: people that inspire and help people to start doing things differently. And like you say, start with your water. But I mean, another thing that you see in packets is rapeseed oil.
Oh yes,
that's horrendous.
So rapeseed blocks the thyroid. So that's why it's in everything, as we know.
Shut us down.
Yes, and so I think it's 3 out of 4 women have thyroid issues, and that's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah, and
and I'm one of them. You know, I had thyroid, and I definitely think it was an allergy to wheat. Well, you know that the wheat has glyphosate, but it's interesting. What do we really know? You know, chemtrails and so on. But yeah, back to rapeseed. It's in everything, and it's like overnight,
and even palm oil.
Yes. So all these oils, seed oils especially, are inflaming the body. You know, the seed oils, and they've crept their way in. Look at the barista. You know, this barista saying it makes it frothy. We don't need oils in our milk. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, I think people are switching on to that. I really do hope so.
Ditto. And I know one friend, she had oat milk. I mean, I always have coconut milk. Anyway, and I'm reading the label on there, and it said concentrated apple juice. And I said, you know, you've got apple juice in here. She said, don't be stupid. It's milk. I said, no, it's not. And when she read the label, and I said, why do you need apple juice in oat milk?
The thing is, you know, it's an idea just to carry your own milk and
Yeah.
ask them to either make it up,
Yeah.
which anywhere you go, they probably would just, you know, oh yeah, we'll do that for you.
Yeah.
You could do that as an
I
alternative.
do that in a couple of
Yeah,
places where I know,
yeah,
and they're quite
yes,
happy. Still
yeah,
charge you full price, mind, but anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, all right. So water, I know, and it's like when you read what they're saying now, plant-based food.
yeah,
When you read the label, well,
yeah.
I can't see any plants in it. I can
Yeah,
see
I know. Yeah,
all sorts of fillers and other things, and I think,
yeah.
well, you know, it's people think, oh, I'll get that because it's healthy, but it's not.
Well, I actually advocate people to tune in to what their body needs.
Mm.
So I'm not a person who is a vegan, who says I'm vegan and bashes people that eat meat. And vice versa. You know, because I work with the Kogi people, and they eat wild meat. And to say that somebody is less spiritual because they eat meat is crazy. And I feel like this fascism, you know, it needs to stop because there's enough wars in this world without people bashing each other up because they eat this and they eat that. It's crazy. If
Yeah.
you look at all the facets, there's fruitarianism, there's I mean, I've let go of all that because if people don't listen to their body, what it needs in that moment, unless it's parasites saying feed me, you know, and I'm not into, you know, the farming of animals in the way that you know they
No.
are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's beyond any sort of description. It's just horrendous, and we carry that those hot, you know, the sort of cortisol into our body. You can feel it in your body. You might have more fear in your body if you
Mm.
eating these animals that have been atrociously kept and farmed, inverted commas. But if you're eating animals that have been wild, and you know, I've worked with worked with the honey quinn people, when I went to the Amazon, in 2014. You know, they again eat wild animals that have their spirit intact. It's
Mm.
all about this intact spirit. You know, we are the most sacred beings on the planet, and people have forgotten their sacredness. And when people realize how sacred they are, with everything they choose to do, we have a huge influence on the planet. And it's certainly not about somebody being raw and being superior and thinking that they're above everybody else.
Mm.
And this is not healthy thinking or attitude. Um, and I've been in the raw food movement for a very long time. But for my body, the raw food is definitely what's helped this body and helps this body stay
Mm.
aligned. Um, some I know I've got friends that you know eat animal produce and they swear by it. So and they function. And I would never cut somebody out of my life, you know, for that reason.
No,
But
no.
I really feel so passionate about this subject, you know, food fascism. And even though I do what I do, I don't have a hate thing going on, you know?
Mm. And
Yeah.
it's respecting people's choices because, you know, like we're all on
Yes.
a journey, we're all at
Yes.
different levels, and people make choices and then they wish they hadn't, and what can I do to change things? So
Yes.
it's not being judgmental. It's like, well, that was a choice you made, and you
Yeah.
can choose to do differently or
Yeah.
whatever, so
Yeah.
what about
Hey, I've got a question for you. Hey,
oh yes.
in the UK, you've got Jeremy Clarkson, who's done so
Yes.
much for British farming there and explaining
Yeah.
about this British produce. he's really ignited the flame there for people in Britain, and of course the show's gone all around the world. But I've been watching today the congressional hearings for RFK, the Robert Kennedy guy who's putting his hand up for the Secretary of Health. I've been listening to some of the Democrats getting right up him, and he's talking about getting right into the food chain and saying we've got obesity and we've got to go back to the food chain and see how we're putting stuff into the crops as well as the animal stock. And I was hoping he was going to get across the line there, but there's one Democrat woman who just got up him and she was really in favour of all the pharmaceutical companies. It just begs to differ, what's going on there when one guy's putting his hand up to say we've got to start looking at our lifestyle and who we are.
Yes, well, the sacredness that is being taken away from us, and it is because anything, the AI, for example, it's certainly not anything to do with the soul or the heart, AI. And so this is what I'm learning with the Kogis, everything that they do is pure and sacred, and it's connected to nature. And the only way that people really can get healthy is when they give back to Mother Earth, giving back and not taking. And as we know, the corporate companies take all the raw materials from Mother Earth. But on some level, people are believing and maybe not aware that they are also doing the same thing. And so us beings, we are pure nature, but we've been told by the pharmaceutical movement. I mean, I trained in medical world, working in hospitals, blah, blah, doing podiatry. I gave local anesthetics. I stopped giving local anesthetics. I'm so far removed, and it has its place, obviously, in accident emergency. What would we do without accident emergency? Somebody's been knocked over. But generally, I was working, doing nursing in my student years when I just as part-time, and I remember when they were treating ulcers with egg white and oxygen masks. You wouldn't get that now because pharma, like you say, it's so in there, and it's the same with our pets. The pets are fed such unhealthy food that they're all getting the same illnesses as human beings, and it's also to do. I better be careful what I say here. It's also to do with the same things that are put into human beings. If I lived in Africa and we didn't have any vaccines for the dogs,
a lot of places don't.
We wormed them, I think, every so often, and they were never ill. And we were in the bush with tsetse flies, red fly, mosquito, sandfly, you name it. We had everything going on. And, there was scorpions and there was snakes and blah, 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 And, they never got... We had to de-tick them every 2 months. My dad would do, de-tick them with Savlon in the ashtray and the pair of tweezers, And, But I scratch my head and I'm going, we're so far removed from just being, in nature. And
Totally.
Yes.
Right. Basic cleansings for people. Where would you start? Because I know there's the gallbladder and there's the kidney and liver. Where would you start for people to start off to do a basic one to work their way to go, because obviously I know with the 5-day cleanse you do, that's quite a full on. So for people that really are already doing lots of things, that's brilliant. So where would you start with? Because people got no idea of what comes out when you do these cleanses. I know.
Excuse me, I've had this lurgy thing.
It's because I know when I was in Oz and me and Beth, we had the weekend planned and we did, I think it was the gallbladder one where we took oil and or God knows what, and flip, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the evidence was like, oh my God, you know, it's waste products within, isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, you share where would you start with all of this cleansing, detoxing for people?
Yes, so the most essential and beneficial thing to do, depending where people are on their journey, being a naturopath, you know, it's an individual tailor-made advice, but generally, you would start by just changing people's diets. That is a massive detox in itself. You know, for some people it might be cutting out the dairy. Some people it might be cutting out the grain, you know, wheat. I don't know. And that 2 weeks before doing any sort of major cleanse is massive. Then I get people working with the lymphatics, and so most of the lymphatic nodes hang out in the small intestine. So when we get people sort of cleansing, I always get them to clean out their large bowel. Yeah, there's a really great image of all the reflex areas on this map. So when you start to clean out the bowel and the small intestine, you're helping a lot of the parts of the body. And that's the area I start with, is cleaning out the intestines, because you're also helping the lymphatics. And so the next thing that's on the next stage would be to actually clean out the liver and the gallbladder. And so, as you know, preparation is everything. If you don't prepare and you go straight into, say, a liver cleanse, and you just do, oh, I'm going to do the liver cleanse today, and you do the oil and the Epsom salts. Some people might do Epsom salts, which are extremely harsh on the body. I don't think they're meant to be taken internally. But if you go in and you just do that, people can often have the most horrendous experience because they haven't prepared. It's a bit like, you know, if you're decorating a room, you have to strip down everything layer by layer, and then you put layer by layer back on. It's kind of like that. Yeah, it's the same thing. Because, you know, if you paint something, and you just paint over, say, cracked wood that's coming loose, and you paint over that, it's not going to stay, is it?
No.
Yeah,
it's still cracked.
Yeah, it's still cracked. So that's kind of like what I try and explain it. People, you've got to do the prep. Prep work is essential. It's a layer by layer process, a bit like we decorating. Yeah. Yes.
So the liver cleanse first, then.
So if you go into the liver cleanse straight away, it's best actually to make sure that the bowel, go and get a colonic and empty the bowel, you know, the large intestine. That would really, really help you, because most of the time you're going to just have what's in the large bowel come away rather than what's going to come away, you know. So it makes things a lot easier. Yeah.
I know. I like having colonics because it just feels like I'm putting fresh air all through my stomach. You know, it just feels amazing. So, and I know I'll be going at my son's soon, and I go to a lady there, and I know, so I'm going to book him for one, because after doing my Egypt trip and being so unwell, and I've still got a tiny bit of cough, nothing much, but compared to what I had, and having to take antibiotics and rebalancing, I thought, well, that'd be good to have a colonic to anyway.
Yes.
So I think colonics are amazing, but that's, you know, that's my choice.
They have got their place. I experienced, had an unfortunate situation where the money was important, and instead of saying you should only have so many colonics, which is often the case, because it can wipe out all the good bacteria if people continually go for colonics. So it's a really important thing to know. A good colonic therapist is like gold. Just
Yeah,
you
yeah. This
really,
person is like gold. Yeah.
yes,
So
yes,
yeah. So, and I mean, I can't remember if I've had one within the last year, but anyway, I'll find out. But yeah, so
yeah,
that's on my
yeah.
to-do list.
So yes, with you, as we were talking earlier, definitely working about implanting the good bacteria, and it's best done with the whole foods, because
Mm,
this is what I teach, and is stick to whole foods. You know, clean whole foods, are essential. And as you know, I work with Zen Cleanse. I've been fermented their products for 3 years, but whole foods, and if it's clean, they contain what the body needs, and your body doesn't need that much actually.
mm,
You know, a lot of the people, you know, you can have one meal a day. Some people, when you're cleaned out and everything's working properly and you're absorbing everything you need from one apple, you know, you're not feeding the parasites. They're not going feed me, you know, because the parasites do that a lot. And that's often what's actually controlling people and their urges to eat, apart from the emotions as well, obviously.
mm.
Um, but it's a huge subject.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, parasites, cleansing, and not over cleansing. Listening to the body is the biggest thing, you
Key.
know,
Mm,
tuning into the body and letting the whole process. It's an evolving process. I mean, I've done 30 liver cleanses now, and the lady that inspired me,
you must
she
have
was
the best liver in town.
she but the thing is, when you remove the fat, the scar tissue, and the scar tissue needs to be, you know, dissolved, and the enzymes can help with that, as with castor oil packs, you know.
Mm, yeah,
um
yeah.
so I use castor oil regularly. So when you've had a problematic liver, it's usually affecting, you know, you've got all the bile ducts that go through the liver. I don't know if you've got a picture there of the liver and all the bile ducts. And there is like loads and loads of bile ducts. That's the lobes. So you can see how many lobes there are on the liver. And so when you start to cleanse, you're only going into a section of the liver, which is, you know, why for some people it takes a lot longer for people to cleanse than other people. You know, there's people that have done 14 and all their acne's disappeared that they've had all their life, you know, things like that, and so on and so forth. But it's such a big clump of tissue or meat, you know, that's in the body, and most of it's under the rib cage. Um, and it comes into the center of the rib cage where there's a gap, and it also comes below the rib cage on the right hand side. It hangs down a little bit. So massaging the liver and underneath the right rib, yeah, that's it. So we can see the bile ducts. There's meant to be miles of it, you know, of these bile ducts.
Mm,
And in one of my cleanses, you could see a bit of tubing that came out, and it broken
really?
in. Yeah, and so
Wow.
it all and it was quite a big bit of tubing. This green stuff came out in, and I would assume it must have been one of the larger bile ducts that it came out. So I've kept the picture somewhere to go in the museum,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Gallbladder Liver Cleansing Museum. But yeah, you know, when you do see what comes out of you. So when I used to run retreats, in the Algarve, in the beautiful retreat center, Monte Mariposa, which means transformation, you know, butterfly transformation in Portuguese. And sometimes when people would throw up the oil, and they had the best results. So I do know that this, you know, what you see, the saponification of the oil, is not always the case, because the people that threw up the oil actually had the most amazing results. They both had problematic livers. You know, they used to be binge drinkers or something like that, you know. And you would see this stuff come out, and it was just incredible. And I was shown again and again that the stuff that comes out is not saponified oil, because what's coming out, you know, they've thrown up the oil. As soon as you've swallowed that oil, and as soon as that oil has hit the stomach, the body will purge everything that's been softened with the herbs from the gallbladder, liver, obviously into the small intestine. And then obviously if people throw up within that first hour, the oil's done its job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
I had prepared those people. They were on the toilet 4 days in a row, possibly the second, third day. They were on the toilet 8 times in a day, empty.
Wow.
Yes. And that's what you call good preparation for liver cleansing. And people would come and say, I eat healthy, I don't have anything in me, I'm you know, it's really, you know.
Yeah. And there's healthy, unhealthy, isn't there?
Yes.
And then there's getting food poisoning or gastro, and you're married to the toilet.
Yeah, that's well, what you had, Andrena, you know, when you went to Egypt, it's a very common complaint, and I think it can really so it's send signals to maybe the nervous system, you know, as well, because you're constantly throwing up or whatever. So there's that to be settled, as well as obviously the infection and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, you're fine. I was fine. I'd climbed up the King's Chamber, you know, been here and done this, and then, you know, then it started, and it was just like come out of nowhere. But, you know, I've heard so many people say they've been to Egypt and come back with a cough and been ill, and it's like when you get there, it's like, well, let's clear this and let's clear that. And, God. Anyway, and I know when you went to Bosnia, the pyramids, you were ill, weren't you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So anyway, talking about oils, what oil would you recommend for people to take? Because somebody was saying, you know, like they were seizing up or something, and I said, well, are you well oiled? And I laughed because I thought, well, you put oil in a car, you know, keep it running smoothly. So what would you recommend oil wise for people to take?
So again, well, as a naturopath, I work with body types. So you have body types, and me, I'm a Kapha Vata. So that's Ayurveda. And it's just words, isn't it? It's just words.
Yeah.
You know, basically Kapha constitutions, they're the ones that can put on weight with a flick of a switch what they eat. They're very slow metabolizers, slow digestion. That's basically, and then the Vata is a nervous type constitution. And so if the body type is a Kapha, for example, they do not do well with oils or fats. It really slows them down. So this is where it's really important to teach people what works for them. Because if you put something in your body and you're tired after it, then what have you eaten that's caused you to be tired or hyper? You know, I'll give you my example. I love raw chocolate, and I've really had to cut back on my raw chocolate since I had this bug. I had a sore throat on Friday night, and I zapped myself. I use a zapper, by the way. I don't know if you know what a zapper is, but they're really great gadgets to have. And I used this gadget, and I zapped, a cold, and I also did streptococcus because I had a sore throat, and I used it overnight, and I had no sore throat the next morning. But I rested Saturday, Sunday, and I was running 2.5 kilometers on Monday. But I've taken it a bit easier. But a lot of people have ended up in bed with these bugs. You know, they do at this time of year, don't they? And there's been a lot of fear since you know what.
Yes.
And so that's a big factor, you know, the mindset. But not having sugar is a really good piece of information out there for people. If you've got a throat infection or a lung infection, avoid sugar, because bacteria feeds on sugar.
And, you know, it goes finding things that haven't got sugar in, because I do a little voluntary job in a charity shop, and on by the side of the till they've got all different sweets now, and it was somebody coming in and they had 3 packets of coconut, strawberry flavored coconut chocolates or something. And I, like, they were only about £1 a packet or something. I thought, God, is that all? Anyway, and then I'm looking on there and I think it was about 85% sugar, and I was thinking, oh my God, you know. And you know, when it's finding, you know, sweet things need sugar to make them sweet, don't they? And I know people say after a meal I like something sweet, so rather than a dessert, what would you recommend to, because, you know, a lot of people are, I mean, I'm not a dessert person, very rare, but a lot of people, I have lost my train of thought now. A lot of people like a dessert and they say, well, I just like that sweetness after my dinner or something. So what sort of alternative would you say to take, is to give people that little bit of sweetness? I mean, you know, I know you can have dates.
You all of us, 3 of us here, are about rough, you know, we're over a certain age where we can remember where do you remember where people would make their own desserts, they'd make their own flapjack, and you'd put in things like what you call that dark stuff that's full of minerals, and it's really
molasses.
Molasses. So you know, so something like molasses, which is all the minerals in it, and then just some chopped up dried fruit. You know, we're going back to the times, I guarantee you.
Yeah, definitely.
We are going to be growing our own food, or are growing our own food, so it's clean. We'll be making our own, you know, my granny, my dear granny, who I adored, you know, everything was made from scratch, you know, the soup and everything. And the things were out the garden. But I remember people making their own bread, and I remember people, you know, making flapjacks and things like that you could make a whole tray of. And that's a really good idea. Now, some people are okay with honey, but these are the sort of sweeteners that you would use, because some people have to be careful with fructose, and that's why I suggested the molasses, because some people, those molasses, oh my gosh, they're really rich in nutrients.
And very sticky too.
They're very sticky. So a bit of dried fruit can be helpful as well, you know, if you like something sweet. And also, just making your own, you know, like power balls. You know, power
chia
balls
seeds
are
and
great. You can do. I love pistachios, and then I add a bit of lime or lemon, and then I might add in a bit of powder of some sort, fruit powder, and then you just roll it up. You know, with a bit of carob or a bit of cacao, whatever your body prefers, whatever you prefer. And these are they're just, I suppose it's just about being more organized, isn't it? Instead of like thinking we've got to buy. I would steer clear of buying packet stuff now. Definitely.
Yeah.
Where do you get the molasses these days? What type of shop would do that?
Where do you get molasses?
Probably in a health shop, I suppose. You don't see it so much, do you?
No, you don't. So there you go. See, the good things start. Funny you should say that. It's date syrup that you see more of, but I suppose you'd have to order it online. Isn't that ridiculous? It's not available anymore, or is seen as much. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you something. I help these Australian beekeepers in Australia, and they've been ostracised and taken out of the market by one of the major players who's been around for 150 years. Anyway, so the Australian company has been sold to a Chinese company, and they bring in container loads of rice syrup. It's in 1,000 litre tanks. And they then distribute that to their beekeepers, their avarists, who then place it outside the beehives.
Right.
And so the bees then come and get the rice syrup and then take it into the beehive. So now they can actually say it's actually Australian grown made honey. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But when you get into that honey and once you open it up, it starts to crystallize and it just becomes like a solid block. And so the bottom line is you go and find the local beekeeper, local aviarist, who's actually, and under the Australian or state law, they can actually decant it from the hive and then they can actually package it and sell it. So, and of course, the major sales for honey is actually in winter.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to see that the largest company in Australia has really taken another way of infecting the Australian population with rice syrup.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's nefarious and insidious, and this is whereby the only, us sacred beings, we have our power in everything we do, and so our choices in everything we do. So if we don't buy these corporate things, and we buy from local produce people and small businesses, God, we're laughing. Can you imagine if everybody started doing that? And I feel like that is what will happen because, people are, I work in the community, obviously doing feet. I do feet 2 days a week and I get to see everything.
I bet.
Yeah, including feet, yeah. But I go into people's homes, I hear what they're saying, I'm really in the thick of it all. And people are really sort of becoming aware, especially if you've got me as a chiropodist. But
I bet.
and I'm just not a chiropodist. So buying from local people is, going to help the world and the planet and us. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it
used to be like that before all this corporation stuff came in.
Yeah, well, we're turning it all around slowly because more and more people are becoming aware. I don't like to use the word awakened, but more aware of what's going on and how they can help to make changes and all sorts of things. So I'm aware that we haven't got a lot of time because I know you've got a very busy clinic and you'll be finishing at 10. So is there anything that you like to finish up with, either any like little recipes or about any retreats coming up? I don't know what Carol says here. I can't read it. I got a bar across my screen, so you have to read it out.
What about people who had the gallbladder removed?
That's a classic. So when you've had the gallbladder removed, obviously it doesn't need to be removed. That's a biggie. So in cleanse, you see so many people who have their gallbladder saved through cleansing, but it usually means that their liver needs cleansing. So, the gallbladder is just this tiny little sac of that sits and receives the bile from the liver, and this can get backed up very easily, and it's because of the liver is not able to send it to the gallbladder. So when people have had the gallbladder removed, then it's essential that that person, one, takes digestive enzymes with bile. And the second thing they need to do is consider cleaning out their liver.
And what about people that, I know a friend who they want to take her thyroid out because I think she's got nodules or something. What about things like that? I mean,
cleansing is essential. So the body responds. If you give the body the right things, it responds immediately. it's a bit, you know, the you've heard the terra firma, you know,
Mm.
the garden. If you feed the garden and nourish it with the right soil, so everything comes back to the gut. But essentially, the blood, our blood, is like the rivers of the earth. We keep the blood clean. It's where your chi, your energy resides, in the blood, and the blood feeds every part of your body, just like the you know, the rivers of the earth. And we are as above, so below. You know that saying, and it's so
Oh.
true. And
Mm.
so the thyroid, I do know a lot about it because I had thyroid, and I still have to be careful. So the thyroid is very dependent on good circulation. And so you'll get people who do yoga. That's another reason why I run, because I have this sluggish kind of body. Then I find running, you know, the circulation really
Yeah.
is like great. And so my thyroid's like really supplied well with blood. But it's one of them, it's shaped like a butterfly, and it's so sensitive to any toxins, and especially heavy metals. And so I would first of all look at the foods that we talked about. Rapeseed oil. The foods that hinder the thyroid are called goitrogens. And
Is
you
that
need
to
to,
do with the goiter?
yeah. So even if they don't have a goiter, they're called goitrogens. And I had a lady who was in her 80s. She was on 150 milligrams of thyroxine, and in 3 weeks after avoiding goitrogen, she was down to 50 milligrams.
Wow.
So this is where I say, if you do the right things with the body, it responds like it goes hallelujah, because it's not having to deal with the toxins. It can get on with its proper job. And so when you remove the offenders, so the thyroid is very affected by things like glyphosate, you know, wheat, the grains, anything that causes inflammation in the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So heavy metals is a biggie as well. And what we eat is huge.
Mm.
I
And
had
it is,
I had spelt bread the other day. It was really, really
Yeah.
nice.
Nice. Yeah.
The question now is try and find it in other stores. You know?
What's this? There's about 2 or 3 different wheat varieties of the older varieties, isn't there? Spelt's one of them. I can't remember right now the other
yeah,
name.
there's a sourdough I have, you know, when I have some bread, and we
Yeah.
get ancient grains from
Yes.
one of the breads. So that
Kamut, is it? Kamut?
it could be, but yeah, so
So yeah, these ancient grains are the best where they haven't been tampered with, for people who are having health issues. So most people are battling with it. Just, you know, food it's got to be clean. That's the biggest message. And water I can share here is clean food, clean water. You'll have a clean body.
what about washing? Because I know some people use food grade hydrogen peroxide to soak their vegetables and all sorts in. Do you recommend that or anything?
Yeah, and there's apple cider vinegar. Some people use bicarbonate of soda, I think. And then you can buy this sort of stuff that you can make up.
Yeah.
You can buy it in a container. But on YouTube, there's lots of what people use. There's also the ozonator. People buy ozonators and ozonate their fruit and veg, where you just, you know, ozonate everything, which I think is great.
Yeah. So have you got any retreats or anything coming up?
I'm having one. So I'm going out to Colombia.
I know you said.
And I've been asked to join a retreat center there. And so we'll see what evolves with it. But the next one that's coming up,
right,
it's available, is the one in Monte Mariposa in the Algarve.
Oh, I love Portugal.
Oh, it's so rustic. It's way up on the hill, and it's so beautiful and quiet, and oh, it's just beautiful.
So when's this one coming up, or you've not got a date yet?
End of next year. It's on my website, susanlaing.co.uk. Yeah.
I can't think that far ahead anyway.
No.
But I know you've got to book these things in advance.
Yeah,
Right,
that's right.
It's coming up to any other words of wisdom before we let you go?
I would say learn to tune into your body. What is it telling you after you've eaten or drunk something? Notice the signals. And start to just tune into your body's own wisdom and remember how sacred you are and the power you have.
And not be a customer for the for the hospitals and doctors. Do it as best you can naturally, so you don't need to go to these. They all have their place for different things, but you can, if you do more things to avoid these places, then the better you'll be, eh?
And there's nothing wrong with about speaking up and having constructive feedback for businesses as well. Running myself 2 businesses, I feel like constructive feedback is essential to help people know where, oh, do you think you could do this? Do you think you could do that? And that helps the business as well, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, I'll say, yeah.
And supporting our local
Hey,
businesses.
do you guys use celery and lemons and limes as part of your liver cleanse?
I live on celery juice. So every morning, most mornings when I have the time, I love my celery juice. And I put lime in, especially since I've had this chest thing. So lime helps to clear mucus in the head, and celery, organic celery, oh my gosh, it's a real game changer for the body.
I find for my stomach, it doesn't like just celery.
Well, you be careful, because not just because something's working for somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean it's working for somebody. And it could be just a particular period in their time, in their.
Yeah, I could try it again and see how I get on.
I mean, what my body is capable of doing now after 30 liver cleanses, and the lady that inspired me did 60, by the way, and she was younger and she was very ill like myself. And so we have different times where we can do different things. You notice that in our lives, oh, I could do that, or I can't, or it's about tuning in. Your body's a tuning fork, the greatest tuning fork. Yeah,
and that's tuning ourselves to be the best frequency, the best vibration.
Yes, and we really do have everything inside us. We go outside to seek, thinking that we find what we need on the outside, but the more inner work you do, the more you realize, and being in nature, of course, and returning back to the earth and nature is what we're about, because we are nature. That's all I'm going to say here.
Well, it's been an absolute delight for you sharing again, all your wisdom and knowledge and all the tips you've given us. So thank you so much for sharing. And I look forward to seeing you some point in Glastonbury.
Yes, Andrea, let me know when you're in. I've got the book for you as well.
All right, wonderful. Okay, fabulous. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. And thank you for Susan. Thank you, Jeffrey. And same time. Oh, no. Next week, we got 2 shows. So details will be about up after the weekend or sometime soon. We've got 2 shows. We've got Wednesday and Thursday. So more to be revealed later.
Oh, you got to tell them Wednesday. That's a special guest.
Go on, then you tell him. It's Dr. Sam. I can't remember what his second name is.
No one knows. They can't pronounce it.
No. He's doing an Australian tour, and he'd like to come on and share.
Dr. Sam, he was in Bosnia. He's the one in 2005 discovered the Bosnian pyramids. He's got a PhD in pyramids from Central and South America. He'd been to Egypt, of course, but he discovered this particular mountain, which became the Bosnian Sun Pyramid, but there's another 5 all up. So he's going to do a trip around Australia. So he's going to be in Brisbane here on Wednesday the 26th. So, but he's going into Fremantle, or Perth, I beg your pardon, then to Melbourne, then to Sydney, and then Byron Bay, and then Brisbane. So, so looking forward to that. That's Wednesday night.
Okay.
Nothing else?
Right. No, that's it for now. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
Thanks, Jeffrey and Andrena.